Good morning, class. This is Eric Magidson. This is our first lecture on Unit 1, Computing Fundamentals. I'm going to go ahead and go through the objectives real quick. So, categories of computers. This is definitely changed and increased. There's some computers that aren't on this list here. The pocket computer, PDA, pretty much any phone today could be considered a PDA. You tend to carry around your schedule and do more than just make phone calls with it. So, notebook or laptop computer, those as of 2008, they're selling more laptop computers than they are desktop computers. 2008 was the first time it was going to be expected that would happen in the US. Microcomputer, personal computer, desktop computer, that's the traditional side of your desk computer that you're used to seeing. Mini computers are basically for hosting web pages, file servers, those kind of things. Mainframe, these are the older computers. This is where we had one computer with all the processing power in it, and then dumb terminals with keyboard and a monitor, and that was about it. So, supercomputer, of course, we find in universities. Large computers, many processors, a lot of memory for processing large, complex issues. Thing missing from this list is what we call netbook computers. So those are those small 12 to 10 to 13 inch laptop computers with very little memory, very little processor, used for surfing the web primarily. So types of computers, again, sort of redundant, but the desktop, the laptop, the PDA, the tablet computer workstation, and then of course with the mainframe we get the dumb terminal. Why is it called a dumb terminal? There's no processor there at the workstation you're working on. You're connecting the processor back on the mainframe computer. So, desktop sits on your desk. It's pretty standard. There's a picture of one right there. Again, as I go through this, I want you to use the pause button, pause, read the slide, get as much information as you can. Laptop, highly portable, optional battery power. Today it's nothing to get 8 hours of premium optimized power. That means we're not using the wireless, we're not using the CD, etc. You can get up to 8 hours on a standard laptop today. By reducing the processor and the screen clarity, etc. So, but again, flat, very portable. PDAs, the first one that you see there was called the Palm PDA. Now we have phones that are PDAs, carry our schedules, all of our contacts, upload to YouTube, you name it, from these phones. So personal data assistance. And again, normally today, we used to have a PDA and a phone. Today, they tend to be all-in-one units. Tablet computers, we see these used a lot in the medical field today for EMR, electronic medical records. Highly portable, uses a digital pen in a lot of cases, so we can just tap on the screen. We can also handwrite and have it convert to text. Also home automation. This is a home automation unit here. We can use those to basically control the home. My uncle has one. It starts up his hot tub if he wants, remotely if he so chooses. Pretty interesting. Now, workstations and desktops are pretty much synonymous, except that when we talk about workstations, we tend to be talking about a company that has many computers, all of the same make and model. This, of course, cuts down on their maintenance costs, because when they're maintaining the computer, they're maintaining one computer. They can update one type of computer, etc. So workstations are what we tend to find in the work environment, professional environment, companies that have many of them. Of course, up at COCC, go into any classroom, you're going to see the exact same type and model. So, dumb terminals, again, these have expanded. It used to just be a keyboard and maybe a mouse and a screen connected to a mainframe. Now, dumb terminals can be things like scanners to take inventory, and then, of course, there's no processing done here. We take it back put it in its holster, and the data is transferred in a lot of cases. Today, of course, wireless has become so popular. They now have these wirelessly. They're communicating back with the computer and turning in the information. So hardware versus software. You know, the simplest way to say this is if you can touch it and feel it, it's hardware. Software, of course, are the programs that go into the computer. So the first thing I want to make you aware of here is when we talk about software, the first piece of software installed on a computer is if you said operating system, you're right, the operating system. Then we install specific programs such as Word for document creation, Excel for spreadsheets, PowerPoint for presentations, and front page you won't hear much about. That's Microsoft's old solution for creating websites and web pages. So on this side we have output devices such as monitors, output devices such as printers, drives, you know, the drive in the computer, keyboards, all hardware. Keyboard, of course, is an input device, correct? Well, when you're doing your homework and creating that study guide, that hardware study guide, make sure you include things like, is it primary memory, secondary memory? Is a hard drive secondary storage or primary storage? It's secondary storage. Primary storage would be the RAM, so we'll talk more about that. So talking about software, here's the operating system. Types of operating systems: Mac OS, the Macintosh. We have Windows. You know, currently Windows 7, but there was Windows XP, you know, Windows and Windows 7. There was Windows Vista. Enough about Windows Vista, right? Unix, which is an open source. No one really owns it, so you can program it yourself. There are companies that support Unix and Linux, but that doesn't mean they own the code. So, the CPU is the brain of the computer, so that's where all the processing is done. Again, pause and read the slides. So when we talk about word size is essentially how much information, ones and zeros, that's all a computer knows is ones and zeros, how much information can be processed at one time. So you can read that and understand that 8 of those bits, a single zero here is considered a bit, so there's 4 bits here. 8 bits makes up a byte. Clock speed, this is how fast the computer can run, how many pulses. With each pulse, it gets the number of bits it supports. So old processors used to support 32 bits. Now the new ones support 64 bits. That means with each and every pulse, the processor can process 64 bits with each pulse. Currently, 1 gigahertz processors, 1 billion pulses per second. That's pretty amazing. Memory and storage. So here's where we get into primary storage for data being processed. So this is not going to be saved long term if we shut off our computer. Secondary storage is saved long term when we shut off our computer. So secondary storage, ROM, read-only memory, this is where the initial startup for the computer is located. It, of course, is secondary storage. Random access memory, where we process all of the applications and softwares we run them, that's going to be primary. Secondary storage devices include things like floppy disks, optical media, and of course the flash or thumb drives that we all have today. Input and output devices. Well, input devices are things that we use to input data. Keyboard and mouse are the most common, but things like barcode readers. In this case, I'm using a microphone. That's an input device. Output devices, monitors, printers, projectors, many other output devices. So stop and think if you can think of other input and output devices for a computer. You're going to want to look at this and understand these are not the exact numbers for you nerds going, hey, this looks weird, but these are close. Kilo is 1,000, mega being 1,000,000, giga being 1,000,000,000, you know, and so on. And I'll talk a little bit more about ASCII later. Pictures and sounds, so you know how dots and patterns are processed on the computer. And that's it. So hopefully you enjoyed this. There'll be a lot more to come. Bye now.